We're going to call this meeting to order, and we're going to start with the pledge of allegiance. If you would all stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're going to do our roll call. We have Al Quinn present. We have our new board member, Christine Christensen, correct?
Lisa,
Yes. Say here.
Lisa Christensen here.
Excellent. Okay, M. Brown,
Here.
M. Vanderploeg. Yes. M. Murphy. Okay, good for that. All right, now we need to go through the agenda.
I make a motion, we accept the agenda as written.
I have a motion. I need support. Second it. I have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
All opposed?
Nay.
Line 5 is a error. We need to amend the agenda before presenting.
Well then, be the time.
I'm sorry.
Line 5, it says approval of December 2024 meeting minutes.
Oh, 23, very good. 3, what a great catch.
Well done. So I make a motion to amend the agenda.
I have a motion. I need support. Or I have motion and support to amend it to correct the typo. I'm here. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passed. Okay. Would you
approve the minute?
Yes, if you would take a look at the minutes from if you haven't had a chance already, please look over the minutes and then we will move through those.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of the December 20th, 2023 meeting.
I have a motion and I have support. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, now we are coming to public comment. Would anyone care to comment? Yes, ma'am. If you would walk up here to the desk. You could, yes,
Or there.
well, okay, if you'd rather. I mean, I don't, yes.
I recognize a few of you here today. My name is Sheila. For those of you that do not know me, I've been going around speaking at Gratiot and Isabella County meetings for the last 2 months because of the solar going up in North Star. My father lives over there. I would prefer not to see solar on farmland at all due to the fact that it's shrinking at an unprecedented amount. But whatever zoning decisions you make, they should be the strictest allowances possible to protect the integrity of the food producing land. You need to ensure that this farmland is not altered to compromise future agricultural growth. It should be protected to ensure a natural environment free from chemicals that are harmful or hazardous to animals, humans, or health of the soil. There should be no removal of topsoil, limited additions of aggregates such as sand, gravel, or limestone. Solar companies stand to benefit from these projects at the expense of property rights of individuals. I would recommend that neighboring properties be given the utmost respect and consideration at proposed industrial development. There are examples of ordinances that I have reviewed that protect the land, non-participating properties, developers, and even those that sign the leases. As it stands, there are several solar sites that will be nearly impossible to be converted back into farming. Some argue that the land will never go back into the agricultural arena. I have witnessed for myself the loudness of the inverters and would recommend that the decibel levels be the strictest allowed. There are many articles available that have complained about the areas of solar panels holding water because of damaged field tiles and affecting nearby properties. And with that, my brother and I went to Lennon, Michigan, and we went and saw a solar field for ourselves. And we did record it on audio, and I didn't pull it up first, but I would like to play that for you.
Sheila, I missed your last name. I heard Sheila, but
It's Selman.
Selman.
This is an inverter. And I'm standing in the road. Directly across the other side from me is our two homes. So people just are not aware of what is going on. So I encourage anybody to go and visit the solar site in Lennon. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question? Is it an actual solar farm or an ancillary to another business like a farm?
It's an actual solar.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any comments or questions? Okay, someone else is okay,
Tom Clark, Hamilton Township Supervisor. And as a board, we've talked on this and we understand, you know, the need for solar and, you know, Bart has some of these other farms over on the west side of the county. Understand that, you know, with technology, everything is getting better as they go. Same with our windmills. We're in the process of possibly repowering some of our windmills. So, you know, not against that at all. But as a board, I guess one of the appeals that I see on here was Mr. DeSager didn't want to have the shrubbery in front of the windmills like the rest of them are have to have by regulation. And so I understand, you know, by looking at the map here, it's going to be directly right on the farm site, on Milk Star site. So we have no problems with them being on Milk Star site. I mean, it's already, you know, you got 3 huge barns there already. You got housing there and everything else. And in the 10-foot height, as a township, we felt that you know, is basically about 1.5 feet higher than what we have already in our regulations or in our zoning. So we didn't object to that as a board, but as a board, we would like to see, you know, the shrubbery put up in front because if other solars, you know, come in our area, which I'm expecting or suspecting that they probably will, we would like that put in place, you know, to where we don't have other appeals coming, you know, our way in Hamilton Township for this. North Star and Washington Township all have to have the shrubbery and everything else in front of theirs. And so, you know, I think that as an appeals board, I believe that we should at least have the shrubbery. I don't think the extra 1.5 feet is going to make you know, you won't be able to notice that from the road. But I do believe that, you know, as a board, we would like to see the shrubs put in place, and that way, just like all the other solar panels, all the other solar farms in the area have to have. Okay, thank you.
You can have public comment during.
Yes,
Variance.
yes.
And what's going on first.
Yeah.
you wanted to do what? Know what's going
He
on?
wants to comment during the public hearing instead of outside of it.
Make sure there wasn't agents so that they could come up and talk like him.
Yes. Oh, you can.
That's why we have the explanation and everything else.
Okay, is there anyone else that would, in the public, like to make a comment? Okay. Do we have anyone here representing Bart DeSager? Okay, all those hands in the back. Are you going to make a explanation now for the public? Yes, please, then, would you?
Are you opening the public hearing then?
We did open the public hearing, that's why they both.
I didn't hear you say that.
Sorry.
My name's Alex Brown. I work for Harvest Solar and pretty simple. I was just gonna say, it sounds like she might have been talking about a solar farm. This is not a solar farm. This is just to offset Mr. DeSager's own personal use at his site. It's not even gonna offset his entire electricity use, just part of it. So it's not a utility scale system. I've actually never heard an inverter make any noise. But at the solar farms, it might be a different story. I'm not sure. As for the screening, there is some trees on the west side of his drive where half of the array is going. And not on the east side of that drive though. So there's that. And I believe, colleague had something to add.
I don't have much to add. It's pretty straightforward that, this is for, roughly 30% of the consumption in that facility at the dairy farm. It's behind the meter. It's directly and literally used on the facility, not exporting to consumers' energy at all, not on farmland. It's on currently unused mowed grass. No soil will be moved or disturbed other than like a electrical trench. And yeah, the height, the ordinance and the height is 8 feet, and for the optimal angle and orientation of things, we're asking for 10 feet, or I think it's actually a little under 9 and
9, 3 3/4.
yeah, 9, yeah. And then, on the screening, I get it, and, I won't argue too hard, but just as a, an opinion, when they're, it's a relatively large project compared to, something for your house or something. But it's, 100th or less of what a solar farm is. The solar farm in Lennon, it's about 1/300th that size. So it's, the screening to me, just on a personal level, I don't think that the I think that if I lived across the road, I would be glad that the solar panels were blocking the dairy farm. You know what I mean? So I guess it's just a matter of a perspective, but I don't see why the solar panels should be screened and when other things aren't, or I guess at least on this scale, I should say that. But that's just an opinion, and that's what we're asking for. Is an exception then on the height and the screening. Otherwise, I believe we'd meet the ordinance.
Clarification, please. If you'll turn to your map that we were provided with, or you can look at mine.
Yeah.
Okay, you just said that it was on the trees are on the west side. This is,
Meant the
okay,
east.
east side.
Excuse
Okay,
me.
okay, because you've got trees here a bit on the south.
Yep.
And then, yeah. And then this west side. is
Yes,
where
nothing on the
the
west.
rest of this.
Page 2, it zooms in a little bit.
Yeah, whole better view there.
Oh, okay.
So you have some there, nothing here and nothing there.
Correct.
Okay.
So then, to that point, looking at that, if the screening will still be required, we'd like kind of some guidance on, do we have to not be able to see at all through, in between the vegetation, or is something like what's existing there acceptable all the way around? If we could get some guidance on what that will have to look like.
You guys all see the
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Before I got here.
last thing down the road, yeah.
That's pretty much it. It's all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, moving on.
I don't know.
But it's the rule. Phil? Are you going to give us a report for the zoning?
Would you like a report?
Yes, I
Uh,
will. Wait, a minute, just, I'm sorry. Was there anyone else? No, oh, yep.
Yeah, public now, yes.
This is for the presentation. This is the explanation.
And then you can,
No,
Well, we
part
did- he
A is
did.
a public hearing.
well, I did that at the beginning, but he said he wanted to hear what they said
He can
first.
speak now.
Well, public hearing for public comment comes after the zoning administrator gives his report.
Okay, we have open hearings.
It's not that we don't want him to speak, we just don't want half of them to speak now and half of them to speak later.
Bill, we're waiting.
I want to talk.
Yes, you do.
Your turn.
Speak up, boy.
Okay. Basically, I agree with Mr. Clark that there should be something up there for screening. And I understand what you're saying. I hear you that, hey, maybe we don't need it here, but. Do it for one and do it for all. Because the next project, even if it's a smaller residential or a larger one than yours, and the screening thing comes up, they say, well, those guys didn't have to do it. Why do we have to do it? So to prevent all that, and nip it in the butt right now. And I totally agree with Mr. Clark, Hamilton Township, there has to be. I'm more than willing to waive, height requirements. Because personally, I think that we should take a good look at our ordinance where we're limited at 8 foot. Because, I think technology may have risen above what we have on paper. Basically.
That's it?
Yeah.
Anything else? Any comments about what the zoning administrator said? Any? Okay, could we have public comment?
Name's Jeff Shaw. My property neighbors, the property is subject, asking for a variance. I'm encouraging denial of the variance request by Mr. DeSager. The rules for solar panels and other renewable infrastructure were put in place for health, safety, and protection of the community. Allowing such an area of panels to be placed without the required screen barrier presents health, safety concerns, especially with the panels being proposed on the corner of an intersection. The panels without the proper barrier will present distraction, glare, potentially cause accidents with the traffic traversing through the intersection. The screen barrier is required for the safety of the vehicle traffic, so it's not a distraction, especially when large machinery and big trucks are frequently entering and exiting the property. In addition to a request to allow the exemption that they want for the height restriction should be denied. The taller panels, the more distraction, the more difficult it will be to match with the appropriate screen barrier. Unless the panels are going on top of a roof, I request no exception to the height. This placement is on a corner of the property, which they have failed to acknowledge that is a very busy intersection. And it's located on 2 public roadways. The rules state and were put in place to keep locations like this restrictive so traffic is not distracted or become unsafe. This is a prime example of why the rules were implemented. Altering the rules will risk the public safety and create an unwelcoming precedence to bend the rules in the future. I would respectfully request the variance to be denied in its entirety, based on the comments I just said.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, what was your first name?
Jeff Shaw.
Jeff, thank you.
Roger Slavic, Elba Township Supervisor. I'm one of the 6 townships that you guys represent. Do that. So one of the things I'm going to tell you right now, that's the hottest topic I've been on in 30 years of doing this, is solar. The wind and solar has changed at our state level, different ways. So there's a lot of different changes to that. One of the things I'm very concerned with is changes in our statutes, especially for a variance. I understand, yes, we need to look at it. We need to study it. We need to review it. It needs to go to the committee. It needs to be reviewed. We need to have hearings about it. We need to explain why we should have different heights, different changes, but it's just something, if you let one, we all are going to be able to get into it and it's going to create a problem. If we need to make the change, it needs to go through the proper channels going through our changes. So that's one of the things that I'm kind of looking at, is because it is something that is very big, going on, a lot of big issues. If the farm's not in my unit, that's not my concern. My concern is their zoning. If it's going to get changed, if you do one, you've already changed it. And this change needs to be really looked at properly. It needs to go to the planning commission. It needs to be reviewed. We need to be able to be notified of it. We need to be able to, all talk about the change and why the change is needed, and then put it in place that way. So that's what I'm asking the board to consider, that if we're going to do any variances on solar right now, please consider that, because it is a very serious, and let's look at it more and study if we need a height difference. That's what I'm asking. So, okay.
What town?
Elba Township.
Elba.
Yes, ELBA. It's just it's a very hot topic area that we need to go very carefully. That's all I'm asking. So,
Yeah, Roger, help me out. What about the height requirement that you feel is not?
well, we need to know, like you kind of mentioned, technology may be changing, different things. We need to really put that to our committees, let them look at it. You come up with it, notify us that you're thinking of doing that change. That way we all have an opportunity to come in and talk about it. Maybe we like it, maybe we won't like it. Maybe you have a good reason for that change. But I don't think it should be made just because right now. We should go through and try to figure that one out. And not just make the quick change, because the variance is for a specific need to make a change. If we don't have a specific need, we're changing it for everybody. And so that's one of the things. It's like when we first put our zoning together, we didn't put in mobile homes because they didn't want mobile homes at the time. It took us rural townships 2-3 years to kind of talk to the committee to start talking about, we still want to have mobile homes. Well, we finally came up with an agreement that's going to be the same square footage as a regular house. You could have one, but it has to be a pretty good sized one. We should usually have the better ones. So it's some of the things that we did as a step. And this is basically one of them right now. If we feel that we need a change, then we need to go through the proper steps. Find out why we need to have it, find out is the technology change and do we need to do this? And then let 6 townships know about that so we can take it all to our boards and we can then come back and talk to you guys. But you know, if we like it or not, it might not be nothing wrong with it. But the point is that zoning, you know, this isn't the time to handle that. That should be handled at a different area. That should be, we have absolutely no reason why we need to have it. Just because it's gonna increase it.
Okay, Roger, help me out.
Okay?
Someone wants a variance. We have a zoning board for that.
Mhm.
You're saying there should be different committees, different?
There is you have a planning commission and you have a zoning board of appeals. This is a board of appeals, correct?
Yes,
There should be 2 different ones.
there are.
So this decision to change our zoning should be with them and not with you.
Planning commission?
Yes.
No, sir.
So you're seeing it all through here. Then definitely we need to stop this because then we need to review this from this.
There's a difference, Mr. Slavin, and you know this. There's a difference between a planning commission
Hmm?
and a zoning board of appeals.
But they can't,
2 separate entities, sir.
okay? They handle our zoning. They create our zoning.
We don't create your zoning. We're the Board of Appeals.
I know that. That's what I'm telling him.
What Roger, I think, is getting at is if we grant this, we're setting precedents and therefore we're basically making changes to the ordinance
Yes.
without actually being in writing. That's basically what he's saying.
But actually, we are,
And that,
it's not setting any precedent.
No, it's not.
Everyone's different.
right.
But for what reason is this one different? I mean, what reasons is there?
What are you talking? This isn't different.
Okay, so to me, it's just because of the height and we don't want to have the screening. There's no, that's
The township is Crumballs in.
Washington. They have their own zoning.
Is that,
Because I know when we changed the zoning years ago, we didn't come to the zoning board of appeals. I went to the planning commission. Because they were the ones that were working through all of the process of this is what we're guidelines that we go by. This is how, when the changes were made and all the things went through. You guys take that and when there's a particular need or there's a particular reason that we need to come to this, that whether we need to have 10 acres or 8 acres instead of 2 acres parcel because there's a ditch running through it on an angle, or it just creates it for it can't be farmed anymore, that's bigger than a normal for it can be a buildable lot. That's when they come to the zoning board of appeals. But in this particular case, we're definitely changing our zoning then.
No, sir, you're not.
They're not. How? What,
Don't change anything, Roger.
okay, but what exact
Not
reason?
anything. People have come asking for variance, that's it.
Okay,
The ordinance stands in place. Don't change it.
so basically anybody then can come and ask for the same variance for the same reasons, just because of optimal.
That's why.
Correct.
Zoning
That's
board.
what you're saying.
And every case would
It's
be
different.
looked at under the
It's
circumstances.
gonna be still based on their run.
No,
It has to be.
why? Help me out, Roger.
Because if you have one person do it, why can't someone else do the same thing? Same reasons. If I have the same reasons,
Why couldn't you? It's the same.
yeah, that's the whole point. That's the whole point.
Same You got
But
the
that's
same
the thing,
stuff.
they're not all the same. That's why they come here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because it can't be.
Anybody that is gonna put one in that's gonna be 10 foot high has absolutely no problems. They can come in and just say they wanna have a 10 foot high to
You're
optimize.
saying, that's not what we're
That's-
saying.
Yeah, that's what you're standing there talking about. We're not.
You know, I think it's, because if someone comes back in, we're gonna see the same thing for that, but you're gonna have different reasonings. You're setting a precedence on it.
No, we're
No,
not,
sir.
we're not setting a precedence.
Nope.
Each case is individual, stands on its own, and it's different. There's none of them identically the same.
Well, you have a good reason to do this to keep it from being separate from someone else. So if I went and did the same thing, I could come in here and get the same thing, do the same parameters.
If it was what
But I want to make sure.
relevant. Unless it was something that was flagrant.
And it has to go through your board zoning.
No, it
first
does not.
Before it comes to
No, it
us.
does not. I don't have zoning. You
We
have,
are zoning.
yes.
So it has to meet zoning requirements. So
Right.
when they apply for this, they have to get a zoning permit.
Right.
Yes.
Mr.
That's up to
Slavik
you guys.
is county zone, yes.
So, I just want to make sure of that. Because if it comes back when someone else gets denied, I want to make sure that we have this meeting in precedence because I do know how this comes. So thank you very
I
much.
do want to say, Roger, that we have not made any decisions. on
I understand
anything
that.
Today.
Just saying it's,
Just understanding that you say, well, I can come in and do this. We haven't done anything.
done anything yet. Correct. That's what I'm saying. It's just, that's when when we're working in this, variances can create the start of eroding of what we've created many years ago. So-
Right, but maybe what was created needs to be changed as well.
Right. And that's when the changes should be reviewed.
And that's what happens when information comes from here, it goes to the planning commission. If the planning commission starts to see multiple requests on the same thing, then that says to the planning commission, we may need to review this.
And that's where I'm saying that's where this needs to be. That's all I'm asking. Okay? I'm
Okay.
not saying deny that. That's where it needs to go.
So you presented that then to,
What's that?
you went to the planning commission and?
No, I haven't,
Maybe.
yet because we haven't been through.
Yeah.
No, what I'm just saying, if you think that there's issues.
So that's the next step that we have to work with. So. But yeah, so, all right, that's all I need.
Roger.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to comment? Okay, I'm going to close the hearing to public comment. And we're going to have discussion and questions. Okay.
I always have questions. So just to the east of the proposed solar, is that a lagoon, or waste? Is that, am I seeing that correctly?
Private detention pond,
Yeah,
water as far as I.
okay. And Eagle doesn't have, I mean, have you approached Eagle to verify any setbacks or anything that might be required for that?
He submitted a soil and erosion application, and we haven't heard any problems with it.
Okay.
Pretty minimal, disturbance to any soil, like Ken said, there's just a small trench.
And then is this considered a CAFO? Is the operation considered a CAFO? You know, I can't remember the. Thank you, yes. Is it a concentrated I wrote it down somewhere. Concentrated agriculture feed operation. Is that, or is this just strictly milk?
Why is that relevant?
Just because there are specific requirements, not within planning commission, but other areas that are guided by CAFOs that aren't on other types of farms. So I just was asking if it was a CAFO, and if it is, if you've gone through all of the regulatory background with them to verify that, you know, you don't have to have extra setbacks or anything like that for their requirements.
Well, not that I know, I believe it's not as agricultural.
It is, but it's just the way that the farm is identified and the way the state identifies them. So I just, okay, because that would be something that, you know, we definitely want to make sure that is taken care of also.
Are you, I'm sorry. Okay, Who is representing, Bart? The reluctant hand there?
It's not very.
Got it.
Solar and with Bart about an hour ago and he's gonna try to make it, but wasn't sure if he'd be able to make it.
My question is, why is he seeking a variance not to have a screening put up? Because he
Screening.
does have trees, as we look at the picture, he already has established trees there. Why would that even be an issue for him?
Well, it may not, but the reason is basically just cost and our belief that it's not necessary. And the height is based on efficiency, based on the angle of the panels.
Did you look at cost at all on this? I mean, is that what he's objecting to? It's too costly?
It's not that it's too costly as in you couldn't afford it or something, it's just that he believes it's not necessary.
Okay, and you, your range for this, because I see on the paperwork, it says 8 to 11 feet. It's
9 3/4.
9 3/4.
9 3 3/4.
Okay. Okay, so not quite, but no, okay. So he just thinks it's not necessary to do that. But he doesn't have a problem doing it, he just doesn't think it's necessary.
Yeah, there's not a functional reason that the answer that it causes a problem with some grass.
Because it is a highly traveled road. And there is, especially if you're coming from the south, that west light would angle on it, which you want, we pick it up. And if anyone was driving by there, that could be an issue.
But don't you think, I was gonna say, don't you think, rather than having fencing, that trees would be better, because fencing would take away more of your view if you're coming up to the corner than trees.
And you've already established trees there. Did you put those in or no? Because they're there, he's already got.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wish to.
Yeah, I wish he was, but we'll deal. So he's already established that precedent that he does have trees and shrubs there already. I drove by the place, it keeps it awfully nice, it's very neat. It doesn't seem egregious to ask him to continue the planning and make sure for safety reasons that he complies. It isn't too much to ask. It's a small way. We wouldn't require it to go beyond what his planned panels are. I'm just wondering why Bart would object to this, why he didn't just say, okay. Do you know why?
Not sure. It's just like Ken said, maybe it was worth a shot, cost.
Frankly, the height is more critical because it's an actual efficiency thing. And setting the panels at the right angle. So it may have been, if we're asking for a variance for the height, I'd prefer to not have to screen as well.
So was that your recommendation to him, and maybe that's where he took it? Did you recommend that?
Recommend,
That instead of at that height, not having screening? If you
we
didn't
don't
need to?
care either way about the screen. We're completely indifferent. We're just, we're just hired to build and do the construction and electrical of
Okay,
the, array. And so, from our perspective, we're indifferent on the screening. We understand where you're coming from. And the 9 foot 4 inch change, is our requirement for the ideal production.
How many additional solar panels or rows of solar panels would you have to put in here to meet that 8-foot height?
So we wouldn't be able to put in any more. So because the nameplate capacity is, we can't change that between some consumers' energy rules and other things, some USDA has variables. The system size is gonna be fixed, the number of panels. So it would shallow the angle and is to meet that goal. And I don't know the exact percentage that it would lose, not 15-20%, but probably 8 or 10% on a large generation, on a large amount of generation.
Any other questions from anyone?
Bill, I have a question because it came up a little bit earlier about recommendations for types of screening. Obviously, if they're gonna plant some acorns, it's gonna take a long time before you get some oak trees growing. So when we talk about screening, is there standards, or is there standards that we should possibly be considering with or without the addition of the potential of the 9'3" versus the 8-foot height? Is there something that we should be considering?
Riding on your question, can we don't allow them to plant acorns, right? They have to put in a tree, right?
I was being facetious.
I know, but my question was, do we require when that's set in a certain size tree be submitted? Is
Or shrubbery or.
There's not.
because it would not be.
Can we request it?
Yes, I want
We could
that
require
requested.
something.
Yes, because I don't want somebody putting in something that's 3 feet and never growing. No, I want that. Okay. And to cover that, what would be the optimum? I'm going to rely on your expertise. What would be the optimum? He's got some real nice trees there already, but they've been there a while. So what would you recommend to be the height to put in for that?
Well, on the surface, I guess I would ask, can he just continue what he's done already on that one section all the way around, but they'd be, of course, younger trees. It's hard to say because if you plant a 3-inch maple in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, the actual canopy of the tree is gonna be higher than the panel.
Right.
You're just gonna see right in between all the trunks easily.
And it's gonna cover up your solar panels.
Well, they're not that.
It's just tall solar, so we wanna be shallow, low enough that
Possibly on the.
avoid that, and if you put something like a shrub or arborvitae, does it have to be every 2.5 feet so that there's not even a little bit of a view gap in between them,
I don't think that would be a requirement, but we can talk about that. But my question to you, you hit on it. What do you recommend would be the foliage that should be in there? And you don't want a shrub because it might not grow. So what would you recommend?
8 feet arborvitae every 10 feet.
8 feet every 10 feet. And you think 8 feet would be, he's got much taller trees there. But
But it's a different tree.
yeah,
You can't be transplanting 40-foot trees.
no, but they could, if there's a recommended size, we could put it in to secure what you recommend.
So whether the height gets approved in the variance or not, it sounds like the screening will not, and that's fine, but my point is that as part of the ordinance, we need to show that detail of the screening on the site plan for being approved. So I guess I'm saying, I don't really know the right recommendation or the proper recommendation right now. But we can make a recommendation and put that on an updated site plan.
Okay. Because
We as a ZBA could make a recommendation, something along the lines of fast-growing trees that would, almost completely obscure the sight of, the panels from traveling motorists or potential development, that's always my concern is there's a lot of farmland there now, but that's how subdivisions start. And one day that could have a big subdivision, and I think it's important that we protect what potentially could be a future use of that. But I think that we can word something and then they could take it and then say, will this work to Bill? Right?
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
But you're the ones that deal with the panels all this time and you've seen this before, so what would be best? I would be very interested in your recommendation. Is there anyone else that has concerns?
I just have a question on the road. I was out there and I just don't remember, is that a four-way stop or a two-way stop? Two-way, and is it north, south or east, west?
It's west.
Okay, okay. And there's a house across the street also. Kind of kitty corner from where that is. And I think that, I think for their sake too, they'd be awful happy if we looked at some kind of, shading there, covering. Other than that, I have no other questions.
Any other concerns from the board? Bill, do you have any recommendations? Well, is there anything else that you would care to discuss? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. And we need a vote at this time to either approve with conditions, deny.
I think we need to take them separately and we need to go through all the number 3 issues as we did before.
Yeah.
So
Let me flip my pages. Okay, I'm looking at under general requirements.
So which one are we doing first? Height
That's
or
general requirement
height?
for mechanical screening.
height, or there's 2, we're looking at the screening or the height.
Page 1, it says mechanical equipment must be screened. Well, yes, page
You're talking screening first.
yes. And so that's general requirements. B, on page 2, mechanical equipment must be screened from streets and neighboring residents by fencing or landscape. Okay, during the discussion, you mentioned fencing.
I would,
And
if we can designate, I would think it would be much better to put greenery here and not fencing, especially at a corner. Fencing is gonna block the corner views. You still want to be able to try and see a little bit through. But yes, you do want to hide the solar panels.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept that screening needs to be done here? And
On the south and west side of the panels, because there already is some.
I think we need to make a motion to deny the variance and that we request that they have the type of screening that we want.
Yes.
okay, we can do that. Do you submit that as a?
I can make a motion, I'm sorry, you were.
No, no.
So I would make a motion that we deny the variance to not have screening, and I would recommend that the screening be of natural materials, meaning some type of shrub or fast-growing tree, so that in a short amount of time, it will block as much of the rays and the materials, the solar materials, as possible. And I believe that that should go along both sides, both the front and the
West,
South and the
yes, west and south, yes.
so it's for the west. and the south.
Yeah. Buchanan, and I believe that probably the trees that are already existing should be fine on the west side there.
There aren't
on the
any
east
trees
side?
on the west. There's only.
I'm sorry, on the east side, I'm sorry, yep. On the east side, those trees, I believe, should be fine along there, but you need something on the west side and the south.
Okay, we have a motion. I need support.
Support.
We have a motion and support. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passed. Okay, now if we go to page 3, we're looking at E under 3.
You know what we didn't do, though? We didn't actually go through, well, because we denied it, we don't have to.
Right.
All right. I just want to
You
make,
mean make recommendations about what type of?
yeah, just our ones that we have to go through and say why
We didn't-
what didn't approve it, so. I just want to make sure.
Looking at E on this, the maximum ground mounted panel height is 8 feet measured from the grade, and it's what they're proposing is 9 3/4, correct?
9'3",
3/4,
9'3" and 3/4 inch.
3 3/4. Okay. Is there any discussion we need to have about that? Does anyone get contentious about this increase? No?
So what are our 3 things we have to look at? Or
It's, it would be on your page 150. Maybe you don't have it this way.
variances.
Item number 3, where it says variances. If you want to grant it, you have to find all of these to be valid. I'm sorry, it's 151. That's 150.
No, it's 150.
Yes. Different books here.
I do want to note that if you would look, I know we're looking at E, but if you will look at F2 on page 3, the panel screening from residential districts and public right of ways.
We addressed that.
We addressed that already. So this 6 foot, and I want to be clear on this, they're asking here, it's stated it's a 6 foot privacy fence.
Or the green.
Or the green belt, which the green belt is not limited to just 6 feet. Want to make sure that was clear.
I think our stuff covers the green belt, doesn't it, Bill?
Yes. Yeah, you're good on
I don't think they have to do a fencing.
Okay.
I don't see that we have any problems with, unless somebody else feels differently, giving a variance for the height, because we know that technology with solar panels has changed since they've made the 8-foot maximum requirement. So I myself don't have a problem with granting that variance. Does anybody else disagree?
We can put it to a motion. You want to make a motion, Russ?
Sure. I motion that we grant the variance for the height.
Specifically, I think we need to make sure that it's specific so that we don't come by there and there's 12-foot ones.
Right.
Cannot.
They requested 9, 3 3/4 height in place of 8-foot maximum.
Yes. Question.
So the profile of the structure that we would build puts the top of the panel at 9 feet, 3 inches and 3 3/4 inches. So that's accurate, but just in case between the contour of things and whatever, if there's 1 inch higher than that, you may want to have your discussion based on 9.5 feet to be safe, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, you want to amend your motion?
I think that seems reasonable if we were gonna go 9, 4,
Yeah.
almost 5, so.
Yep. We can amend it to 9.5 feet.
Okay.
Okay, well, I have a motion for 9.5 feet.
And will it be contrary to the public interest and not be contrary to the spirit and the intent of the ordinance? Will it cause any adverse effect to property in the vicinity or in the zoning district or in the county? It's not where the specific conditions pertaining to the property are so general or recurrent in nature as to make the formulation of a general regulation for such conditions practical. Relates only to property that is under the control of the applicant, which, yes, we know that. Affects only the property. Why, this doesn't sound like all my things. I usually have one that says that it was affects only property subject, exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions that do not generally apply to other properties or uses in the vicinity or have not resulted from any act or omission of the applicant and must be granted in order to avoid practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship that would result from enforcement of the strict letter of this ordinance. And I think maybe that's where the one, if they can't build to our ordinance because they can't build anymore. Other cases where they
And build.
yeah, they would, but they cannot build any more than what's on here. So I think that that's where it creates a hardship for them. And also, I think it pertains to all of those items as well in there. So I would second her motion.
Okay, I have a motion and I have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. So we have accepted your 9.5 feet. We are asking that you screen that. We're asking that you screen that with the green belt. And we're asking that the foliage be sufficient to screen as you drive by, and it will fill out. Okay,
We'll show spacing and description of that, in an updated site plan.
yes, we'll get, okay.
I think we've given Bill the authorization to
Yeah,
do that.
you know, I'm gonna take a look at one more thing, gentlemen. When you're putting up the trees, okay, you cannot block the intersection. There has to be, a line of sight, okay, and you guys know that. Same way if you're putting up a fence, it has to be scaled down. So if I'm pulling up here, I can block,
Mhm.
okay? So I can't have some giant conifer here, or I gotta ease out and somebody's gonna
Right.
hit me in the nose, okay? Now, as far as your, maybe be an inch off, hopefully you're shooting grade so that doesn't happen, my man. All right. That's all I have.
Okay, so we have voted, and is there any old business we need to attend to?
No.
Any new business we're looking at?
One quick question that I just have, and it's just because it mentions it in here, of going by they call that green belt. What exactly, is it anywhere identified what green belt is? I mean, you would think that it would identify something, so it'd give them something they have to
There is
buy.
wordage in,
The green belt is called a strip of land of definite width and location reserved for the planting of shrubs, trees, or grasses to serve as an obscuring screen or buffer strip in carrying out the requirements of this ordinance.
Okay,
So
so
I
I
think
think that's
that-
approving green belt. That means if they wanted to plant grasses, they could plant grasses.
But we made conditions.
What did
he put conditions.
I thought you read as green belt in the motion.
But we made extra conditions that it had
Would
to
be
be
the green
that's
belt.
going
You're
to.
specific too.
Yeah, be specified, right? Any other concern? Any committee and special reports? Any general comments from the public or items not on the agenda?
I just want to thank everybody for coming out today and giving us your thoughts and your opinions and being engaged with our community. We really do appreciate that. And we want you to know that we listen to all of you and we take that very seriously, what you're saying. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, I'm going to close the meeting at this time. Meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. I need support. Second. I have a motion and support. All in favor? Aye. Meeting is closed.